And there's always been the gay rumors about Paul Mooney.
Yes. Let me just say, you know what? I've always loved Paul Mooney as far as from the time I was introduced to him. You see? Because there's an earlier Paul Mooney that we don't know about, that we weren't privy to. There's that picture going around of the young Paul Mooney holding a glass of wine, looking gay as fuck. That Paul Mooney we didn't know. We knew the later Paul Mooney who was super funny, who had effeminate ways, and you're like, is this guy gay? But then he's saying certain shit that's like, you're thinking a gay guy wouldn't talk about. Especially when he started later in life, when most of his jokes were about race. When most of his jokes were about race and the bullshit that white people do to black people, yo, he almost became like the conscious comic in a way. Like nobody else was hitting comedy from that kind of angle, like from I don't give a fuck about white people, like I'm for the betterment of my black people, and white people have been on some bullshit in this country and around the world, and I'm gonna fucking expose it.
Well, he had a comedy special in 2012 called The Godfather of Comedy.
And he came out with broads and all of that. He was looking like a pimp when he came out on stage.
In this, and I'm reading this right now. I've never actually seen this, but
I saw it.
In this comedy special, he said, to end racism, the only way is to kill every white person on this planet.
Right. And he said it with such a straight face that it made everybody laugh. Like, he's like, I'm serious. Like, just get rid of him. Like, yo, he's an ill motherfucker. But that being said, you could always see a little sweetness in him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and now that this is coming out, it's like a party's like, I knew it. I knew this motherfucker. You know what I mean? But again, that doesn't take away from the fact that he himself was a comedic genius. Like, this guy was writing for Richard Pryor. Like,
right.
How funny do you have to be?
Yeah, I mean, I interviewed Ari Spears, and, we talked about the gay rumors, and he said, yeah, Paul has some sugary moves. And that's the way he described it. What's your take on that?
Well, I said after I did the bit in my special, I said, is that nigga gay? So, yeah, I heard it. You know what? He seems like he has some sugary moves. And of course people will say, well, he's got 2 sons, and we know that don't mean shit.
At one point there was like a roast where a comedian accused him of being gay. And
no, not a comedian. Richard Pryor. There was a roast of Richard Pryor. And one time, and Richard said, yeah, the first time I ever fucked a transvestite or some shit was with Paul Mooney. And then he called him like Miss Thang or some shit during the fucking roast. And Paul just laughed. He didn't say, oh, no, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, Richard.
Well, you got to think, 78 years old, back then, if it came out that you're gay, your career would probably end. In 2019, Lil Nas X comes out and he gets even bigger. So I understand that if you've been hiding something your whole life because of how you grew up.
Right, out of habit, you might just keep doing it.
Out of habit, yeah. 78, you're not going to come out the closet. Oh, then again, maybe you will.
Well,
Who the hell knows?
Hold up. Mr. Sulu came out pretty old from Star Trek.
Yeah.
That nigga was damn old, and he said, you know what? I've been liking dicks all this time, goddammit. When I hit the warp drive, oh boy.
Well, listen, I'm a big fan of Paul Mooney. We've actually talked about doing an interview together. We've exchanged emails before about it. He actually agreed to do it because he was a fan of my interview with Luenell.
Nice.
Who he's friends with. Hopefully it'll happen. I would love to sit down.
The same Luenell that said she wanted to marry me.
That's right. That Luenell. Well, number one, she's now on her second Eddie Murphy movie this year. She just finished Dolomite.
Right.
With
And
Eddie
isn't
Murphy.
she in
And she's
Coming to
now
America?
she's doing Coming to America 2 right now in Atlanta. My girl.
You know, and
Love it.
Luenell is one of those, you could tell, like, she really from the hood. You know what I mean? And, like, but she's been on her grind so long, and to see her finally, like, really be in a space where I feel like she's getting the, good bread and she's good. Like, she's solidified. Like, we all know who the fuck Luenell is. She's funny, and it seems like shit is almost going up for her right now and later in her life. Like, that's an inspiration to a lot of people. It's never too late. You know what I mean? Like, people
That's
like
right.
her could show you that it's never too late. You can have a whole next career, in your 60s or some shit if you wanted to. So
Yep.
do whatever the fuck you want to do.